This is not a waiver of any kind. It is supplemental and cumulative, not substitutive. It is not intended as humor, entertainment, retaliation, reputational manipulation, repetitive public argument, nor as any modification of the procedural posture established. After calling out WestJet in my last release, I checked what his next video was, and I have a few things to say about it.
And this looks like it calls for the debunker!
It's not great. Chat. I think that he said it. Hold on, Jeremiah, you there? He says,
Can I get 500 gifted next? What the f was that?
Must have been the wind.
oh God!
I said Neko, bro.
If you made it this far, consider subscribing to the channel because we both know you're unemployed as hell, so subscribe if you've never said the N-word.
I think Jason the Ween said the N-word too. But I don't really care either. And did XQC do this whole debunker thing when Destiny said it too? Or is this just super omega clown garbage? Whatever. I don't really care either way. This is some weird, stupid, degenerate streamer drama regardless. More importantly, I found it weird in general how my attention was brought to this. It basically needs to seem relevant to me when I feel it shouldn't be. I've never engaged in any authentic or seriously racist behavior. I've never said the N-word even as a joke, neither with the hard R nor otherwise. I've never even used it towards anyone online or through any digital media. But I also wouldn't say I've really lied about anything either. So why am I in a position where it seems like if I don't call out WestJet again, I'm either being framed as a racist or a liar or both? I've had times where I've tried to establish boundaries, had my boundaries I tried to establish crossed, and I had to deal with that reality by creating a new adjusted boundary to attempt to mitigate harm done to me. That doesn't mean I'm a liar. That means I was severely mistreated. I've had people supposedly set boundaries with me before. If I've ever crossed them, it was because they were never appropriate or reasonable boundaries to begin with. Let's take perhaps the most relevant example related to these matters. Kimmy rejected me the first time we talked in Discord DMs, but she constantly clearly enjoyed and found creative inspiration from the attention I gave her and the fact that I wanted to date her from the beginning of my connection with her, while she publicly denied it and made me look crazy for seeing the truth. She tried to set a boundary while basically forcing me to have to cross it. I've been rejected by women multiple times before in multiple different ways, and none of them were as basically aggressively half-hearted as what Kimmy did. That's not an appropriate or reasonable boundary. It's not an objectively reasonable position to attempt to argue that I mistreated her because I did not immediately respect her rejection as final and just never talk to her again. If you seriously believe otherwise, regardless of what sex or gender you are, I consider you terminally severely autistic. Not that it's ever going to change my position regardless. Based on her behavior to this day, her behavior clearly has maliciously, intentionally inflicted emotional distress on me since the very beginning, while intentionally, extremely deceptively trying to hide that intent all along since the beginning. While she's tried to fault, censor, silence, and destroy me for being distressed and calling her out for her seriously, extremely harmful behavior, effectively, she's been trying to destroy me for me ever at all engaging with her in the first place. Despite her being publicly very friendly and welcoming towards me early on, and that being the only reason I ever felt it at all appropriate to engage with her in any meaningful capacity to begin with. That clearly makes me the one being mistreated. From the beginning of talking to her, I told Kimmy how seriously I saw things. I made it very clear to her that it would be a serious problem if she decided to treat me like a joke and lead me on and break my heart and try to abandon me and silence me and expect me to move on. My persistence with at least getting actual recognition of these matters that actually has a serious impact on her life, even knowing I'll never get to be with her, actually proves I didn't lie about any of that either. Even my claim of being a permanent chief of the Shadow Confederation wasn't ever a lie. I'm pretty sure every person who's achieved a position of real greatness, whether they're more public or private about it, has experienced periods of great difficulty in their lives. Most people just try a lot harder to hide it than I do. If people attach assumptions to who I am as a result of me making a claim of having a title they never even really respected in the first place, especially things I've never even explicitly claimed, I've been dealing with it. Never decided to retract my assertion about my identity.
It's always the Asian people too. Like what? Like what's up with the Asian people and saying Pokemon want to say it, and you know who else want to say it? I won't be surprised if Jason Lean say he might even say
I trust him. He looks trustworthy to me.
WestJet might think that guy looks trustworthy, but he doesn't look trustworthy at all to me. That guy said Pokimane is Asian. Not even spiritually Asian, just Asian. That is absolutely a lie. She's not even partially Asian. Pokimane is Moroccan. That makes her literally African. If you try to judge based on her physical appearance and not the technical truth, maybe you could argue she's Middle Eastern. But Asian, definitely not. Now, if you want to say she's spiritually Asian, I don't know about that. Maybe. I don't care. I don't see why I should. As for women I find especially sexually attractive for being Asian, that distinction only applies for women actually biologically Asian who physically look Asian. Just being spiritually Asian doesn't make someone especially sexually attractive to me. It never has, and it never will. WestJet did his mix-up thing again, subtitling Pokimane as Valkyrie. Valkyrie is Asian, although she's mixed. She's Asian enough I'd say it's valid to call her Asian. But even then, you're lying if you say she's fully Asian. With her too, I don't know or care about her spiritual ethnicity. As far as my preferences for women go, I generally vastly prefer fully Asian women over partially Asian women. It's not necessarily less attractive if they're mixed ethnicity, as long as all the parts are Asian. Again, it doesn't even really matter, though. Since I can't be with Kimmy or Celine, my preferences for intimate prospects are basically utterly irrelevant to me. I'm going to be single forever no matter what, and utterly despise humanity forever for it no matter what. I've already assumed that's how I'm going to have to live, and I'm behaving accordingly. And who's the you-know-who else that guy was talking about? Is he talking about Destiny? He's such a coward he can't even explicitly call out Destiny for using the word. Are you serious? And WestJet trusts this clown? WestJet is clearly not only a coward but also a clown. Or maybe he only comes off like a coward to me because he's such a clown. I don't know. I don't care. Either way, he's a loser.
Like, here's the thing, bro. We're in 2026. Nobody cares. If you're 30 years old and you give a f about a f***ing word, I'm sorry, but you're a
Friendly guy. It is funny how it's mostly the white guys saying it doesn't matter, bro. But that's just the observation. Don't shoot the messenger. This is genuinely preschool level drama.
Huh. That's strange. I don't know or particularly care if it's normal for WestJet to say stuff like that, but he's saying someone that cares about words is a friend, basically right after I guess in a sense, defended him against Tectone for Tectone's mixing up of words in a clearly intentional manner somewhat similar to what WestJet does. It's not like I'm out here trying to make enemies, but I wasn't saying what I said to be friends with WestJet. I was just pointing out facts, and more so demonstrating I'm consistent in my energy towards Tectone and being authentic in general. I wouldn't really consider WestJet a friend to me. At least he acknowledges this drama seems really stupid. I'm not white, but I agree, it seems very stupid to me. I also noticed a recent Tectone video.
Now, to be fair to XQC, unlike these fucking losers,
I love this because all this is going to do is trigger XQC to respond. It's awesome. It really is. Because Hassan, his ego is so fragile, he cannot help but respond to every single one of these. He actually had to scroll up to find that comment. He has to talk about this shit for the rest of his life.
he's just kind of a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. He's selfish. He doesn't care about other human beings. He's much nicer to people in person, but when the cameras are on, he's a giant fucking asshole. And on top of that, he's been...
It's actually really funny because, no, I think XQC is a piece of shit regardless. I just think he's a pussy. Once again, I got no overwhelming issues with XQC. But you got to understand that, like, when you do talk that much shit online, you are going to have to drop the nice guy act and stand on fucking business when people are in front of your face. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's too many clips of XQC talking this horrendous amount of shit online. And then the moment he meets these people in real life, he says nothing. He says absolutely nothing. He doesn't make any jokes. He doesn't shit talk him. He doesn't try to fuck with him. He's like, hey, buddy, you know, like...
I'm unaware of XQC talking poorly of me online, and I've never met him in person. I've also never particularly cared to try to meet him or find out if he's talked poorly of me either. I would imagine he has, behind the scenes to his friends and whatever. Like probably many others of these streamer clowns, I didn't need Tectone and Hassan to convince me to be apprehensive to deal with XQC at all if he tried to reach out to me. But it's not like I've ever seen any particular reason to believe he ever would anyways, nor was I ever particularly hoping for it. If anyone has particularly expected XQC to reach out to me, I find that strange.
He was crying last week that you are the reason coworker Wig doesn't invite him to events anymore. Dog, AT&T is the reason why I don't get invited to coworker Wig events. The fuck's he talking about? How do I have this level of power and influence?
Side note, coworker wig is a great fucking nickname. That's actually hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. That might be my new favorite nickname for Jellywig. Coworker wig, that's peak, bro.
By
That's
a guy
so
who
good.
had to distance himself from me by being like, he's my coworker. I wouldn't go to his funeral. I actually don't like the guy. The fuck?
Oh.
Again, none of that shit even makes sense. I'm
Everyone hates me and it's everyone else's fault. True.
not even at the event. Am I capable of stopping Ludwig from disinviting or uninviting XUC? How the fuck does that work? Perhaps it's because he's kind of an asshole. And by that, I'm not talking about Ludwig. I'm talking about XUC. He's an asshole who has, for many, many years, when he was at the fucking tippy top of the game, greatly abused his prominence and his influence to mistreat people, to treat people like shit, including people like Ludwig, Ludwig was incredible to him. You know,
You know what? I will say, this is very rare where I actually agree with Hassan Piker. This is rare. I'm excited about this. XQC caused so many harm to so many people by just not looking into anything that he was reacting to, taking his chat's opinion at face value, and then screaming it from the rooftops. I'm not going to lie. Whether you like or hate XQC, it really doesn't matter. I think we can all acknowledge that he's a little bit stupid. He is very good at detective work, but my God, bro, even me, he caused me so many fucking issues because he just sees what his chat says. He doesn't check anything, and then he vomits it back out. So it is true. Actually, a rare clip of Hassan Rum, you know, hey, the coworker wig was a good joke. That was a good joke. A fair take on XQC's damage in the overall streaming space. A fair take. Look at that, man. Even a broken clock can be right twice a day.
I've opened my home to XQC too.
The debunker, by the way, bro, is not the researcher. True.
But Ludwig literally fucking
True.
opened his entire home. Not only is he super flaky and he bails on everything, but like there's been a lot of like behind the scenes help too, and he's just an asshole. So what? At a certain point, if you're going to consistently be a fucking asshole, people are going to be like, all right, man, it's not worth the headache.
The vast
Also,
majority
this
is somebody who just hasn't thought very hard about what terrorist actually means or how to list them.
Okay, we made it gay. We made it gay. We made it gay. Dude, I was so happy. I found a Hassan clip after years of looking that actually wasn't completely retarded. And now we're just going to blame all of this on the fact that he met Donald Trump, the president of America. We have to bring it back to politics every time. Well, he's right-leaning. He likes our president. Brother, he's Canadian. This is so retarded.
It's historically just determined by the interests of those in power as much as
yeah. This.
Oh my God, he met Donald Trump. Oh my God. He's a Nazi. Jesus Christ. Is anybody else just not exhausted by this shit? Like, he made valid points. XQC is an asshole. He talks all this shit on stream, then pretends to be cordial in real life, and he's done a lot of damage by just talking out of his ass. But in reality, the worst thing he did was meet Donald Trump. It's like, oh my God, bro, this guy is a fucking psychopath. TDS is insane.
I don't have any particular feelings about Ludwig. He seems to kind of be cucked by Hassan, I guess. I don't care. He's just another clown to me. I find it strange that suddenly Hassan and Tectone are hating on XQC for apparently abusing his influence to mistreat others. I mean, I find it hard to imagine they're both lying about XQC mistreating people, but beyond that, I've never really had any particular inclination to try to judge him for anything. To me, he's just a clown like the rest of these streamers. Maybe one with more money than most and who lives in Canada, but a clown nonetheless. I've hardly paid any attention to him ever, but I wouldn't say it's surprising if he often just goes along with what his chat says and doesn't really look into things properly. I don't see why it should really matter to me personally, though. I have no particular inclination to like XQC, but I can't help but notice Tectone's calling him Canadian. Huh. But XQC lives in Canada like WestJet does, so isn't he Indian by Tectone's standard?
These Hassan dick suckers are something else, bro. Thank God we got none of those here. Holy fuck, boy. Sorry, we live in reality, so we don't glaze Hassan here.
Tectone apparently lives in reality because he doesn't glaze Hassan. But he'll call WestJet Indian, while I imagine he definitely knows WestJet is Canadian, and at the same time, Tectone also calls XQC Canadian, while talking about how XQC met Trump no less, so it's clearly some heavily politically motivated brain rot thing. Doesn't really seem like Tectone lives in reality to me, so is WestJet Canadian or is XQC Indian Tectone? Because as someone that actually lives in reality, I don't have any problem saying they're both Canadian. And I don't glaze Hassan either, so that doesn't give you an excuse to try to act like you're better than me either. There was also something from a different recent Tectone video.
Like, do you think I would ever want to hold my friends in a position where they have to lie for me? Otherwise, dude, fuck everybody around. Don't invite these guys. Don't hang out with these guys. Because, no, I wouldn't do that shit.
Event. Am I
Holding your friends hostage to all tell the same lie as you, and if they don't, they're no longer invited to anything is fucking insane. And that's essentially what transgenders have done to the overwhelming social community is everybody needs to buy and promote their lie. Otherwise, they're going to kill themselves or they're going to kill you. And in my opinion, that's just not a healthy way to live.
capable of stopping Ludwig from disinviting or uninviting XQC? How the fuck does that work? Perhaps it's because he's kind of an asshole. And by that, I'm not talking about...
Oh my God, bro. Oh my God. How hard is it to understand that when you take hard stances about how your friends will react to your shit, okay? The people that react the other way, you make them an enemy for everybody that you've told to, like...
You sound like a crazy person.
No, I don't. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
I'm not crazy! To be fair, though, he doesn't sound crazy, but that dono was fucking hilarious.
It's creating sides. It's not taking a side. It's creating sides.
True.
That's the problem. When you create a side, right, then somebody has to take one. And when they take your side, I mean, the other side is one that loses. And how hard is this to understand?
Yep.
There's been a lot of like behind the scenes help too, and he's just an asshole. So what?
Crazy.
At
I
a
was
certain point, you're
crazy
gonna
once.
consistently be a fucking asshole.
Okay.
People are gonna be like, all right, man, it's not worth the head.
I will say, I find it very interesting that Ludwig isn't willing to be friends with an asshole, but he is willing to be friends with a terrorist supporter, a animal abuser. I find that very interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Imagine thinking, bro, even after all the times where I did bad as showing up and whatever, right? After all of these things, right? Ludwig, me and Ludwig were still tight, and he still invited me to the shit. Like, how is this to understand it?
It seemed to me like XQC was talking about Hassan forcing his friends to lie. I've never considered XQC a friend to me, and I've never tried to get him to lie for me. Based on what Tectone said after, it suggests to me that it's possible XQC is intentionally avoiding being friendly with me, because he knows he would be wanting to try to force me to lie for him if we were friends, and in that case, he's probably smart enough to know he wouldn't really be able to control me like that. Regardless, it's quite clear to me that Tectone has a very biased and unreasonable stance towards trans people. Not that I particularly care what he specifically thinks, because we've already established he's a coward and a clown, but I might as well expose him harder. First of all, I've never threatened to kill myself, neither publicly nor privately. And I've actually repeatedly said on this podcast that I would never kill myself. Again, I don't claim to speak for all trans people. The main issue with Tectone's reasoning for hating them here, though, is very stupid. He's basically just describing someone adopting a kind of fundamentally cutthroat mentality. There are many non-trans people that do that too. I myself have personally experienced people who, at least to my knowledge, are not trans, who have threatened to kill themselves and or kill others if some kind of lie or false narrative they've tried to push wasn't supported. I've both had that attitude directed at me directly, as well as witnessed it directed towards others. Being cutthroat, even specifically like that, isn't something I'd say is even close to being a trans-exclusive quality. If you want to argue it's unhealthy in general, From a context considering its relevance to trans people irrelevant, that's a separate point with counter-arguments I could make towards it as well. But Tectone is using it to justify his hatred specifically towards trans people. I really don't know any statistics behind it, but even if trans people in general seem to have a large percentage of being very obviously or visibly, unapologetically cutthroat in that specific manner compared to other groups of people, I still don't think that's something it makes a lot of sense to condemn them for inherently. From my personal experience, it seems trans people are exceptionally brutally discriminated against compared to many other groups. So, at least to me, it only makes sense that they might be more inclined to be more intense in being cutthroat towards adversarial forces attacking them, essentially simply for existing. There's also some recent stuff from Pegasus I have some stuff to say about.
So then Asmon calls out Jason for farming everybody else's drama, but being mad when people farm him.
You went and farmed the Sykkuno drama. You went all the way on that. Jason, yeah, see, look, see, this is, you thought you were being cute. You thought you were being funny, and it was funny, to be fair. It was funny that you were laughing and grave dancing on this Sykkuno guy, and it was really funny. I watched your video with Ron, and y'all were really funny. But this is funny too. Let this be a lesson. Whenever you get involved in drama, and whenever you get involved in talking shit and getting into it, sometimes you're the farmer, and sometimes you're the crop. And the harder that you try to hide, and the more that you try to avoid people talking about you, the worse it's going to be. So it's crazy that there's a clip of Pokimane saying it, there's a clip of Jason now saying it, and both of these people, like, you're going and trying to have the high ground, and there's not a single one of me saying it. That's crazy. He hate farms other people's drama, but now he does this. This is the way it is, man. Like, and like, whenever people hate farm me, which they do, they hate farm me a lot. Like, it happens, like, I don't DMCA or shut down anybody. Like, even, like, Noah made that video about me. I was like, well, you know, at least he's taking what I said. You know, he's addressing it, right? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with farming drama. I mean, I do it myself, but the difference is I'm not friends with any of these people. I'm like my own person here. Like, if these were my friends, it would be a completely different story. But that's why I can do some unbiased coverage here, because I don't need to suck up to anybody.
I don't know what Sykkuno or Jason the Ween have anything to do with anything I'm talking about here. I've never considered either of them relevant to these matters. And I've never tried to farm their drama, nor have I ever particularly cared if anyone has. They're both also just clowns to me. I find it interesting that Pegasus specifically makes it a point to explicitly claim he provides unbiased coverage because he doesn't need to suck up to anybody right after I said I consider him biased. I'm not trying to attack him for it, because I didn't start watching his content for political commentary, and I'm respecting his wishes not to be pushed there. But that's not out of any want or need to suck up to him. I'm not sure if I'd go so far as to claim he's implying specifically that I myself am somehow biased and somehow need to suck up to anyone, but if he is, I want it clear he's wrong. I'm not sucking up to anyone here. I never have been. I'm critically evaluating what I'm seeing and giving my perspective while documenting things in preparation for formally filing for litigation against Kimmy, Jamie, and possibly also others. If anything I've said here is biased somehow, due to some kind of inherent bias I'd have due to my personal life experiences and my personal desires in saying anything in the first place, well, I've never promised it wouldn't be. But that's not out of some want or need to suck up to anyone. Anyone seriously claiming I need to suck up to them for any reason is subhuman filth. I don't care if they're a random nobody, someone from my past, some influencer with a large following, a billionaire, or anything else. Nobody is doing it publicly, at least as far as I'm aware. Anyone doing it privately is definitely not someone I consider a friend. I'm not specifically aware of anyone doing it publicly or privately. I want it known extremely clearly that if anyone's doing it, if I knew who they were and I saw any real reason I should care, I would explicitly call them out for it on this podcast in public and directly call them specifically subhuman filth and demand they provide evidence immediately, or they're a complete clown and fraud and absolutely nobody should believe anything they say about me. The only reason I'm not explicitly calling anyone out like that who maybe I should be is because I don't have any clear evidence or knowledge of anyone specifically doing it. Although I find Pegasus content more enjoyable to watch in general than I do most other creators, I've still never really considered him my friend. I don't consider myself to actually have any friends, and it's been like that for many years already. Only at most certain essentially strangers who I seem to get along with a little bit, while overall remaining at essentially a complete distance from them personally, and not really knowing or caring about anything in their personal lives. I wouldn't really call that a friend. I don't know what you'd call that. People that exist that don't explicitly outwardly clearly hate me to my face? I don't know for sure if they're hating on me privately, and I don't really benefit anything from just randomly assuming they are. Everyone's already trying to paint me as some severely mentally ill maniac, and it would probably only validate that narrative, entirely to my detriment. If I started randomly, really aggressively hating on specific people I don't even know much of anything about, what kind of bias would you even argue I have? That I despise humanity so much because I'm sucking up to Kimmy and Celine or something? How am I even sucking up to Kimmy and Celine? I'm literally saying they're trashy sluts, and I hate them now. I'm not sucking up to them just because I admit I find them exceptionally physically attractive, and I've seen them as my only realistic intimate prospects. I'm not going to start finding women I find less attractive to be more attractive. Or start being attracted to men just because Kimmy and Celine have been horrible to me and don't want to date me. That's also not going to make me start looking for other intimate prospects, especially when they could literally randomly just suddenly publicly start acting weird at any point and making my life extremely difficult and miserable and filled with stupid drama and garbage the moment they might get some kind of serious confirmation if I were to even seriously consider some other intimate prospect. Even if that possibility were somehow removed, I don't owe it to anyone to force myself to try to date other people when I genuinely just don't want to. That's not sucking up to them. That's refusing to let some degenerate loser clown's feelings dictate the quality of my character and my values and my dignity and ultimately controlling my soul somehow. It's actually the complete opposite of sucking up to them at all. What's left? Is anyone actually so goddamn schizo they think I'm somehow sucking up to Jamie or someone from my past? That's probably the most severely mentally ill take of all. If you think that, you should probably promptly go check yourself into a mental hospital. And to say I'm sucking up to Pegasus, Tectone, Asmongold, WestJet, Destiny, Hassan, or any other creator I can actually maintain a position towards that I can rationally justify, that's also stupid. I'm not sucking up to people just because I can acknowledge when they are saying correct facts. I'm not sucking up to people who do weird or bad behavior just because I'm not aggressively or constantly hating on them for it. I'm not sucking up to people just because I won't go call them a Nazi because I have a problem with them or I don't like them. I won't be manipulated by anyone into starting to adopt stupid stances in some desperate hope that someone will like me for it. Also, my positions on all these people are subject to change at any point. I'm not making any promises that they won't. It's all subject to provision of further evidence.
Hassan says he doesn't spend a good amount of time looking up what his enemies like Asmongold and Destiny are doing and avoids engaging in hater culture, bro. You can't be a real person. You just cannot, man.
I think we all understand stan culture. We've talked extensively about like the unhealthy nature of it and stuff like that. But I think there's the opposing side of that as well, which is like hater culture, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's the same. It's the somehow even less healthy side of parasocialism, where there are a lot of people who just like develop anti-fandoms and it becomes a fandom in and of itself. And unfortunately, it stops them from making any sort of like reasonable analysis. And it's, in most circumstances, it turns into borderline cyber stalking. From my perspective, if there's a person I don't like, I don't spend a good deal of time like looking at what they're up to. I'll give you an example, like Asmongold, right? With Asmongold, people put a lot of the stuff that he says in front of me, but I'm not like going to, you know, Asmongold hater communities and just like sitting around and being like, oh, what did he do next? And for the most part, terrible example, Lamau. No, I'm telling you, like, I'm not like, actively watching Asmongold every day to find shit that I can say about Asmongold.
Hassan, weren't you literally going through Asmongold's VODs the other day? And the only reason you don't go through his streams is because your deranged lunatic fan base actually does it for you. Your deranged hater accounts actually do it for you. Meanwhile, you only do this off stream. And just the audacity to claim that I never talk about them. Play the compilation.
Don't click away now, Asmon. Asmon Gold. Asmon Gold. Yeah, this is Asmon Gold. Asmon Gold and Asmon Gold. Why you like Asmon Gold? Asmon
Here we go again. First, Destiny was trying to say my behavior here is unhealthy. It seems now Hassan is trying the same garbage. He's even taking it a step further and trying to explicitly claim he avoids engaging in hater culture. If there's a person I don't like, I don't spend a good deal of time looking at what they're up to either. I've never went to any hater community of anyone and waited to see what they did next to hate on them more or whatever. As for the attention I've given to Kimmy, my feelings towards her have been sincere the whole time. It's not like I was watching her streams, hoping she'll do some next unhinged thing I have to call her out for or get upset about. I couldn't just abandon my feelings and go about my life pretending I'm happy, neglecting authentic self-expression. That's very different from something along the lines of hating for the sake of hating, or hating to feel like you belong somewhere. I basically completely ignored Jamie until Kimmy made it evident I needed to also address her behavior on this podcast. And when I've paid attention to it, it's been primarily to document it for use in a lawsuit that would be the result after Jamie has already caused immense damage to my life the entire time I was completely ignoring her. Refusing to let someone endlessly erode at my life, knowingly entirely to my detriment, entirely against my consent for their own selfish gain is not engaging in hater culture. It's having real self-respect. I very rarely paid any attention to what any other creators were doing all these years. The only reason my mailing list has so many creators added to it is because in the vast majority of cases, Kimmy basically made it clearly evident I should demonstrate I'm not a coward to address her while knowing they are a witness to what I'm saying. I guess Hassan considers Pegasus a Hassan-hating community. Even then, I've never even commented on any Pegasus videos on any of his channels. I'm not going to sit through several hours of Hassan streams as if I have nothing better to do, just to see if maybe Hassan occasionally makes a point that isn't brain dead or aggressively manipulative or some random heavily political thing I couldn't care less about. And Hassan really has no place criticizing Pegasus for having an audience of what might be largely dedicated Hassan haters, when Hassan's fan base is basically a dedicated hater of anything Hassan tells them to hate. It seems all these influencers really love implying my analysis of their behavior and how it relates to my life is unreasonable, while they in effect try to lump me in with many who that might actually be true of, in order to discredit me with vague nothings. Yet not one person can meaningfully present any arguments to me that I'm actually wrong or crazy. It's all just either nothing at all really relevant to me, or it's vague stupid implications, gaslighting, emotional manipulation attempts, bullying type behavior, and arrogant posturing. Quite unsurprisingly, Hassan doesn't appear to be an exception. And there's also a part from the video Pegasus released after.
So then Hassan talks about his biggest strength, his inability to lie.
Shame on you. Okay? Fucking shame on you.
Absolute rage bait. Hassan says his biggest strength and weakness is his charitability and that he's unable to lie due to his crippling self-doubt.
I think my biggest strength and my biggest weakness is my predisposition towards redemption. It's my biggest strength, but nobody ever fucking recognizes it when it's successful because now we have more allies. But when it fails, oh my lord, when it fucking fails, nobody ever lets it go. I will never stop being charitable to people regardless until someone has shown that they are irredeemable. And I think a lot of people have a very different standard for what it is to be irredeemable. I have a much greater bandwidth for that. Okay. I'm never going to stop being charitable to people because I know for a fact that this community wouldn't be what it is if I stopped doing that, if I engaged in like demands for purity, things of that nature. But, you know, I do recognize it. Okay. I do recognize it. I come across as stupid sometimes. I have been played a fool. I know. Aiden Ross, XQC, Ethan Klein, you know, there are plenty of content creators that I have been endlessly charitable to, hope that I could change them, hope that I could change their minds. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep doing that because I hope that everyone can change their minds one day. I believe that. I sincerely believe that. I mean, he does realize it. He just doesn't care about being wrong. That's why everything he says is projecting his own actions onto everyone who injured his ego. I mean, there's got to be a fucking moment of introspection, right? Like, how the fuck do you live like this, man? I think one of my best strengths is the crippling self-doubt that I have that plagues me at times. It makes me a less skilled orator, I think, because that crippling self-doubt is always there in the back of my mind. Am I actually getting this right? Is there more information that I'm not privy to, right? When I'm delivering statements and shit like that. But I guess that also helps. That also helps because, like, I do check myself with regular fucking frequency. This motherfucker never does. You're a bad liar. I'm horrible at lying. I can't do it at all.
Wow, what a poor baby. He just can't lie, guys. You see the literal 50 times we've caught him blatantly bold-faced lying? That doesn't exist. Actually, that was all AI. You see, he's just too pure-hearted. He's just too self-critical. He's too charitable to his enemies. He can't be lying because it's against his soul, you know? It's against his morals. I can just imagine he turns off his stream and he literally starts maniacally fucking laughing. That the fact that any of this bullshit is working, this complete grift, is somehow tricking his insane cult fan base. Like, he definitely has like some sort of a split personality because there's no way he's keeping a straight face while saying this. I mean, you could argue that, you know, he tries to lie and he does lie, but nobody actually believes those lies. So in that sense, yes, he does actually suck at lying. But the sheer quantity of lies makes him one of the greatest liars of all time. Because most people would give up. Like, once you get caught in a lie, it's like, you know, might as well give it up, might as well come clean, take accountability. Hassan's strategy is double down until fucking death, apparently. Like, keep doubling down until beyond the grave. Hopefully people will continue the lie, claim it's retroactively AI, that he never shocked his dog. Also, the audacity to say that he's charitable to people. Literally the most bad faith person possible says that Ethan is some weird genocide supporter, implies his wife is a baby killer, a terrorist, says me and Asmongold are Jeffrey supporters when there's complete blatant lies, zero proof to back up any of it. It's actually just insane.
I'm not sure if my understanding of the typical usage of the word charitable is just off here, but my understanding of it is you're not being charitable to someone if you need to be gracious in your interpretation of their behavior in order to even maintain some kind of decent reputation or community. Real charitability is when you don't need to be forgiving or generous in your interpretation of their behavior in order to maintain any kind of external benefit, but you still do so anyways because it's just a quality of your character. Like how I've been to Kimmy and Celine. You think they offer me some kind of benefit? What benefit? Nothing. They don't talk to me. They're not my friends. I've never dated either of them. They don't do anything for me. I don't even consider them to be offering me any kind of spiritual protection. I literally don't benefit anything from either of them. I never have. I would say Hassan is not charitable in his attitude towards others. He's heavily politically oriented, which, if you're someone that publicly outright supports terrorist organizations publicly recognized by the government as such, unsurprisingly requires you probably have to take some serious losses from other creators so you don't look completely unhinged and unworthy of your following. I don't support any of Hassan's extreme claims about Ethan, Ethan's wife, Pegasus, or Asmongold, and I would say it's generally very irresponsible to make extreme claims about anyone without providing any kind of meaningful evidence. But seeing how none of them really support me either, I'm certainly not particularly inclined to defend any of them from Hassan either. I guess you could say I've sort of defended Pegasus before, but I chose to do that fully of my own volition. I didn't owe it to him or anyone else. And even if he's been helpful in the sense of documenting, I guess, the more obviously inflammatory type behavior Hassan engages in, it's not like I was ever pressed to pick whether or not I was going to support Hassan anyways. I wasn't going to be inclined to support Hassan regardless, simply from my own past experience dealing with him many years ago and how he essentially proved to me that he's a bigger coward and clown than Destiny. Pegasus just really confirmed what I already basically knew. Hassan's attitude towards lying is very convoluted. He made separate points about being horrible at lying and having a predisposition towards redemption. These are not the same thing. A predisposition towards redemption means you believe that even if you make serious mistakes to the point you probably seem irredeemable to many, you're capable with enough effort of proving you're not actually a horrible person. In many cases, that perhaps even necessarily requires you to lie a lot. An alternative interpretation of it is he's talking about giving others many chances to redeem themselves, even when it really seems they don't deserve it, rather than him redeeming himself, which is distinctly different from the other interpretation, but it's still different from claiming he's bad at lying. Even if we consider intentional ambiguity in what Hassan said there being present, which may or may not be true, the proper criticism would be he's making vague, basically virtue signaling type statements, while using that to claim he's a victim, giving no meaningful manner to discern the objective validity of his claim. A charitable interpretation of Hassan's behavior would be his claim about his ability to lie as an indicator his enemies lie more severe lies, which perhaps is possible, but again, his extreme vagueness doesn't really help with his claims he's supposedly a victim. If anything, it just makes him look equally as guilty for supporting severe lies, but an even bigger narcissist for constantly publicly crying about being a victim while never actually presenting clear evidence or meaningfully approaching resolving his issues. If he actively avoids making meaningful attempts at resolution because resolution isn't really possible and he knows that, then perhaps that further indicates he's a psychopath. Again, with the explicit terrorist support, I wouldn't really say that should be particularly surprising to anyone. But I suppose really pushing to present Hassan as a massive psychopath for having issues with people I hardly know anything about starts entering into extremely nuanced, heavily political territory I'm not really interested in and don't really see any benefit to engaging with. I also noticed Jamie actually started a stream the day before I made my last release. She started her stream like this.
I didn't get my lip gloss. My lips are so dry. Where is my lip gloss? If I was a lip gloss, where would I be? When's the last time I used my lip gloss? I don't even did I go outside? If I was a lip gloss, where would I be? Un momento. Did I leave it at Jess's place? I think she would tell me if I did. What the helly? Alright, well, I guess no lip gloss for me. Oh, thank you for the sub! Hold on, I gotta go check it. What the hell? This is so weird. Has anyone seen my lockup lip gloss? Guys, I cannot like live without this lip gloss. Like, I'm attached to this lip gloss. I don't know where I put it. Hi Bato, hi Swayze. Also, thank you Uso for 10 months. Thank you so much. No, but I have your jam. Fuck, I don't want my jam. I want my lip gloss. Where the fuck did I put it? Oh, where did I fucking put it? If this is what happens when you like don't go out, because like once you stop going out and you don't get ready, you just like lose all your shit. Like I'm not in flow state of like getting ready right now, so like of course my lip gloss is gone. ¿Dónde es mi lip gloss? No, for real, I actually cannot. I can't start stream until I find this gloss lip, guys. Wait, I have to post on Instagram. Fuck, my ADHD is ADHDing right now. Hold on. Look, this is my camera. Yeah, it needs to pause. Why did it do that? Okay. Painting stream. Okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna post on Instagram. What are you painting? Whatever my heart desires. Probably in a bag somewhere. That's what I thought too, but... That's what I thought too, but I don't think so. Oh, thank you. Mike, 15 months in a row. Oh, 15 months. Thank you so much. This is so dangerous. It like connects everywhere. There you go. Paint the lip gloss that's missing. Dude, I can't find my lip gloss. Where is me lip gloss? When's the last time I used it? Oh, it's in a hoodie. It's in a hoodie. It's definitely in a hoodie. I need to buy 2 before like I lose it and then crash out. Oh my god, I found it, guys. Now you might be thinking, what's the hype with this lip gloss? Look how much, oh my god, it smells so good. It's my favorite product. I need to do one of those like TikTok ads. So like people spend money and I get like loaded. Are you Korean? I am not Korean. 我不是韩国人. That means I'm not a Korean person. Yeah, okay. You were right. Yes, see, I needed my lip gloss, guys. I need my lip gloss, okay.
This was quite strange. She takes literally 5 whole minutes stressing about her lip gloss at the beginning of her stream, literally saying she can't live without it and can't start her stream without it. Calls it gloss lip at one point, which I would say is probably evidence she's abusing starting her stream putting on lip gloss to try to completely flip around the meaning of my efforts to something completely different than what I actually mean and want, and that she's been doing so in one manner or another all along, fully knowingly, entirely to my detriment, entirely against my consent. Considering the context I provided on this podcast of how Kimmy applying lip gloss on stream related to her connection with me, and how that seems to have bled over into Jamie's behavior when I never intended for it to. To me, this seems like really trashy behavior from Jamie, even if it's not intended as some insanely malicious thing trying to rob me of my soul and destroy my life. Like, is she trying to make Kimmy or Celine jealous that I don't have a connection with them where I'm talking in their Twitch chats over something like this? Or does she think she's making me jealous because I'm not treating her that way? Or does she think she's doing me some kind of favor trying to invite me to mention it in her chat or something? Like, I really never wanted to treat her that way to begin with, and I'm certainly not jealous in general if others do it. I wouldn't normally even bother mentioning something like this, but I feel it's probably worth documenting considering I'm on the brink of filing a lawsuit against her. This probably demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in some kind of secret competition with someone and comparing herself to them in order to gauge if she's successful in life. I'm not sure who exactly she's trying to compare to. I don't particularly care either. I've never been doing this kind of thing myself with anyone. She's probably been advancing false narratives about me so egregiously, in part by lying that I've ever been voluntarily engaging in some kind of secret competition all this time, therefore attempting to justify her doing so towards me and or others. And then there was another part later on.
Did you break up on good terms every time? Yeah. Well, okay. Yes, but there's this one guy I dated for like 3 months. I don't think we broke up on the best terms. But he was driving me crazy. Like, it was one of those situations where like I was like, okay, I think that was like my one, like, he wasn't toxic, but he was the closest thing to being toxic that I've ever dated. And I just like completely ignored the red flags, probably because I was a red flag at the time. And so like ending things was hard. Like, it was hard because if you're with a super red flag person or toxic person, it's really hard to end on good terms. So yeah, but that's the only thing. Every relationship else, like, I've ended on good terms. Like, every single one of them. Like, I would wish them the best, and I would never, like, if anything, like, even after the relationship, I'll like feel protective over, like, I don't want anything to hurt them that's from my effect. Like, if we had similar friend group or whatever, like, I'm the type to not go and let them go so they're not uncomfortable. Like, I'll be like, it's okay. Like, I literally do not mind. Like, I don't mind at all. And like, if my friends, like, after breakups, my friends are like, oh, like, is it okay if like I like go to this event and your ex is there? And I'm like, yeah, like, talk to him. Like, I don't ever want like my exes to like suffer. Like, I wish them the best, right? So for me, that's honestly how I feel with, even if I have like a girlfriend fallout or any fallout in my life, like, I never want someone to like be ostracized or like not taken into consideration because of me. Like, I would never want that. So for me, like, that's how I go about it. But I think I can reach this point because like I think I do say everything that I want to say. Well, how about if they don't get along with everything? That's never happened before. I don't stay friends with my exes though. Like, first of all, I don't even have many guy friends that I'm close to. Like, I don't have like guy friends I talk to every day. So being friends, like consistent friend with my ex, would just be crazy. So I think I could be an acquaintance at most, and that's like if you just have like people in the same circle or whatever. Low-key, when I talk to someone, they say their exes are toxic, I assume that they're just as toxic. That's a pretty good assumption. Yeah. No sneaky links. No, I would say like the guy that was toxic. Like, I feel like I wouldn't consider him an ex, but maybe that's the closest thing. But no, guys, I like to stay at home. And also, like, because of what I do, like, I can't really, like, I don't have the interest in, like, messing around. Just not into that.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her intentionally trying to leave me ostracized and not taken into consideration because of her. Specifically, doing that through constantly trying to get in the last word over everything I say, as she knowingly, maliciously tries to endlessly suppress and sabotage me from being able to effectively communicate my wants and needs. I don't know who she's talking about, but it's exceedingly strange. This guy Jamie talked about supposedly dating for 3 months. First, she said he wasn't toxic, just the closest thing to being toxic that she's ever dated. Then she immediately said ending things with him was hard. While I guess sort of leaving ambiguity if it was because she was super toxic or he was super toxic, but essentially implying it was because he was super toxic. Then, very shortly after, she explicitly outright calls him toxic while saying she wouldn't consider him an ex. How do you date someone you explicitly say you dated for 3 months, break up with them, and then say they're not an ex? And how do you say they weren't toxic at all, just the closest thing to it that you've ever dated? Yet they're super toxic and they're basically the reason things ended on bad terms between you two? This is just blatantly incoherent lies, and it's abundantly obvious this person Jamie claims to have dated for 3 months is someone Jamie has been lying about the reality of her connection to. I'm pretty sure this also demonstrates a pattern of Jamie lying about dating people she hasn't actually dated, and lying that they're vastly more toxic than anything they've actually done to her, or that she's even at all reasonably aware of them ever doing to anyone that at all reasonably could lead her to claim, in order for her to hide how toxic she actually is and how toxic the kind of people she attracts to date her actually are. And it seems to me that it's to hide that she has a substantial history of sneaking around, messing around, and cheating on people, probably without much, if any, real care of the harm she's causing in doing so. I've never dated anyone. Not for 3 months. Not for 3 goddamn seconds. I've literally been single my entire life. Although after everything I've been through, I'm quite convinced there's multiple subhuman filth out there that have been lying about the reality of my connection with them and trying to make me suffer and bring chaos, confusion, harm, and misfortune in my life through egregiously misrepresenting the reality behind whatever kind of interaction I may or may not have ever had with them that somehow leaves them feeling entitled to consider whatever connection I may or may not have with them to be me ever dating them. It's not like I've ever particularly wanted people I've grown distant with in general to be ostracized or not taken into consideration because of me. I've grown apart from many people I once was friendly with, and many I even would have called friends at one point, and you don't see me naming them all out here. I've never been actively trying to make their lives more difficult behind the scenes either. If it's someone I've seen seriously substantial reason to believe did some seriously harmful thing to me that I know I very much did not deserve, especially something that negatively impacts my life actively somehow to this day, that's different. It doesn't matter at all whether or not I ever felt they were physically attractive to me or I ever saw them as an at all appealing intimate prospect. I certainly am not okay with being punished because they want to continue benefiting from making me suffer, while they've explicitly created false narratives about me behind the scenes for their own selfish gain, knowingly at my expense against my consent. If that gets them ostracized or whatever, I consider that their fault, their problem, and a consequence of their actions. I continue to see absolutely no real evidence that anyone I've called out for anything I've called them out for on this podcast was something that was unwarranted. In fact, I see plenty of evidence it's been very warranted, and it seems only more so as time goes on. I don't regret or take back any of it. This is beyond ridiculous and stupid and unreasonable at this point. After extremely meticulously having to break down and expose and elaborate on all kinds of garbage Kimmy and Jamie were doing for the last several years to try to hide horrible things they've clearly been involved in inflicting on me, I'm now feeling like I need to deal with extremely vague, random garbage with the strange accusations of essentially nothing of any real substance or meaning. If this is really what trying to publicly address these matters has devolved to for me, and it's basically just really becoming a waste of my time. I'm not going to repeatedly defend myself against random nothings because some extremely degenerate subhuman clowns on the internet want to gaslight me into believing I need to or deserve to. It seems it's finally time for me to actually start looking for a lawyer to sue Kimmy and Jamie now. That is not and will never be any manner of consent to selling, trading, or abandoning my soul. I consider anyone who at all claims otherwise to be subhuman filth. If you're trying to talk anything badly of me to others in any context, for any reason, yet you won't immediately, explicitly, directly, publicly call me out and challenge me that I'm seriously wrong in a manner that can be clearly confirmed I am aware of and should respond to, you're a complete clown and fraud, and nobody should believe anything you say about anything. You could literally end up dead as a result, and I genuinely forever believe you completely deserved it. Especially with how seriously, severely deprived and life-threatening my current life circumstances are. I really want that abundantly evident. I seriously do not at all appreciate anyone at all contributing to doing this to me. I really don't know how I can make this more clear in an actually effective, decisive manner that does not at all compromise my integrity.